And I've noticed that a lot of kids don't like to ride in formation, especially like, young 20-year-olds or kids in college or anything like that. And, I don't know what it is necessarily, I mean, obviously most of them, maybe all of them, have never joined the military, so they don't understand that, like, having some kind of formation keeps you safe. But, for the most part, it's like, oh, I see a hot chick, I'm going to try to, pop a wheelie so that I can get her attention or something. And it's like, well, when has that ever worked? I mean, maybe that's worked a few times, so cool. But at the same time, like, it's also high risk, and as they say, high risk, high reward. So, fair. I get that for sure. But, when it's with people that you don't know and you don't really know if they're okay with that, like, you might ask them first, before you start doing that. So something I did want to talk about too is, when you come up to places like this where you got somebody turning and somebody turning right, somebody turning left, one of the handy things to do is to kind of drift back and forth like this, because what it'll do is it'll add some horizontal movement, and the human brain picks up on horizontal movement, back and forth like this, picks up on that a whole lot more than distance movement, like front and back. And that's why, like, I don't know if you've ever been through driver's ed or anything like that, where they tell you, trains, you can't predict how fast a train's going, so don't run over the train tracks, going super quick. And it's like, well, there is that. But at the same time, like, also, basically anytime you're driving a car is the same exact thing, because you can't really predict how fast a car is going just by looking at it as it's coming towards you. And the eye generally is lazy, so you can just kind of like continue staring on. Whereas if somebody's moving back and forth like this, especially at the headlights on a motorcycle, it'll cause the human brain to focus on those headlights, and then that person that's about to turn goes, oh wait, cognitively they recognize, oh, that's a motorcycle, don't turn in front of them. I don't know what it is with kids, but kids love motorcycles. Especially, I want to say traumatized kids love motorcycles. But, I could be wrong on that. I could be wrong. Maybe it's not traumatized kids, that like motorcycles. Maybe it's just me. But I know that when I was a kid, I freaking loved motorcycles. I loved planes. I loved anything that went fast. So maybe that's just a boy thing. Hey, as long as I can make one little boy's day, then I am happy. Here's another reason why you don't lane split, is because you have cops that, they're in traffic too. And, you might not pay attention and you might lane split right down the lane next to a cop. Or the cop might be on the other side of the road and he'll see you lane split down the road. And there's a gal that I know that got into a wreck right after she lane split. And then after the wreck, the cop gave her a ticket and she was like, wait, but it was his fault. And he's like, yeah, but you lane split all the way up to the front of traffic, so actually it's your fault. And then she had to pay all that crap, and I'm sure some dude helped her pay all of it, but realistically it was her fault because she lane split and she wasn't supposed to. 6466 Bolter. Hell yeah, I bet you I know that guy. Bolter's the name of one of the officers from Ada County Sheriff's Office that died from just a standard pullover, and he got shot basically right in the head, I think, and died, and that was horrible. I would never wish that on anybody. Look at that. You can see me in his visor.
Both of us don't have plates.
The what?
Both of us don't have plates.
Oh. It's Ada County. He doesn't care. He just said both of them don't have plates. Which is like, what in the fuck? Why do you guys not have plates? That's wild, you know? It's crazy to me. Why ride with no plate, you know? I mean, I get that you don't want to ride with a plate because you're afraid that they're going to like pull you over or something, but like riding with no plate is illegal, which means they will use that as an excuse to pull you over. And, you know, I feel like it's like this culture in the sport bike community, which is like, oh, you know, if you ride with a plate, like you might get pulled over and like, you know, they'll come to your house. And it's like, well, that's actually factually not true. They won't come to your house, you know, unless you're doing something that was like a felony or like a misdemeanor, like reckless driving. And like, as long as you're not being an idiot, you know, you're gonna be safe. That, you know, as long as you're just speeding and, you know, somebody tries to pull you over and you pull over, like I mean, maybe not most of the time, but some of the time the cop will be nice to you if you're nice to them, you know. Anything helps, God bless. I feel like that's almost a meme these days. Anything helps, God bless. Looks like he was in the military. Yeah, I don't know. I doubt he was in the military. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I don't know. Almost want to ask him. Hey! Were you in the military? Were you in the military? What was your MOS? What was your branch? Okay. Yeah, see, he wasn't in the military, because anybody that was in the military knows their MOS like by heart. Like, you ask a dude who was in the military and you're like, hey, yeah, what was your job? What was your MOS? They absolutely always will be able to tell you what their MOS was. If they can't, if they're like, well, MOS, you know, I did tankers or something, and you're like, well, what's the MOS code for that? they don't know. They were never in the military. Like, I'm just telling you hands down, that's just how it is. And like, so many of these stupid ass, you know, beggars or, you know, panhandlers or whatever you want to call them, they're almost always out here. They try to say that they're in the military. They were not in the military. There's no way. Because the military, like, that's one of the main things that the military does, is teach you personal responsibility. No one is going to come save you except yourself. So, you know, that's just how it is, right? So you got to figure that out. Anyways, guys, thanks for riding with me. I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Ride safe out there, guys.